Kyiv asks Israel to arrest a cargo ship that is suspected to be carrying stolen Ukrainian grain from territories occupied by Russia.
Hungarian Prime Minister-elect Peter Mayer says EU funds could soon be released to Hungary following a series of high-level meetings in Brussels on Wednesday.
Ukraine has formally asked Israel to arrest a cargo ship carrying what Kyiv suspects is stolen Ukrainian grain from territories occupied by Russia. Israeli authorities previously allowed a vessel with similar cargo to unload unchallenged at the port of Haifa. The Panama-flagged bulk carrier Panomitis is allegedly carrying over 6,000 tons of wheat and 19,000 tons of barley. It has been waiting to dock as the Ukraine-Israel diplomatic scandal escalated over the past few days. Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Saar criticized Ukraine, raising the issue on social media site X earlier this week, accusing Kyiv of Twitter diplomacy. However, a senior Ukrainian diplomatic source told Euronews that Israel had ignored other requests via diplomatic channels for the past 1.5 months. Israel now says that the request is being examined. Kyiv estimates that at least 15 million tons of Ukrainian grain have been stolen by Russia since its full-scale invasion began in 2022.
Hungarian Prime Minister-elect Peter Mayer has said that EU funds could soon be released to Hungary following a series of high-level meetings in Brussels on Wednesday. Mayer met with European Council President Antonio Costa and Commission President Ursula von der Leyen in their first direct talks since his election victory on the 12th of April. According to Commission President von der Leyen, the pair discussed the steps necessary to unlock EU funds earmarked for Hungary, held up during the premiership of Viktor Orban, a long-standing critic of von der Leyen's presidency. In a social media post, Mayer said that the talks were, quote, highly constructive and productive as he called for discussions to move at speed. Hungary risks losing around 10 billion euros in post-pandemic funds intended to support its economy unless Mayer secures a deal before an August deadline. The Hungarian Prime Minister-elect will return to Brussels for an official visit on 25 May, once in office.
The European Commission will present next week its first European anti-poverty strategy. 93 million Europeans, 1% out of 5, live at risk of poverty and social exclusion. Many of them are affected by in-work poverty. Executive Vice President of the European Commission for Social Rights, Roxana Minzatu, told Euronews.
Obviously, it is important that we present the right tools to support on a lifelong cycle, and this is new to our approach, people that are not just already affected by poverty, by low income, by lack of access to services, but to prevent these situations. And the main rationale beyond everything is that we cannot build competitiveness based on social fragility.
Child poverty is put at the center of the strategy.
We will present a reinforced child guarantee, which is our main tool to make sure that children are not affected by their families' vulnerabilities, and that we are helping them go to school, have access to medical health care, to support services.
The European Commission plans to rely on private investments, member states and the European Social Fund to fund this strategy. Minzatu says 100 billion euros will be allocated to poverty prevention in the European Commission's proposal for the next EU long-term budgets. Closer to home, shorter stays and above all cheaper. Against a backdrop of geopolitical tensions, a global energy crisis and inflation eroding purchasing power, the French are scaling back their vacation plans for the summer of 2026. According to an IFOP survey conducted for the French Tourism Alliance, only 37% of them say they are certain to go away, compared to 50% last year. 71% of them plan to stay in France, favoring free accommodation options, such as staying with relatives.
C'est vrai que le choix de la destination, là, on réfléchit à deux fois avant de partir quelque part quand même.
L'avantage, c'est qu'on a une maison de famille et que du coup, ça minimise les coûts et les dépenses des vacances.
On les a pris avant l'invasion américaine au Moyen-Orient, on peut dire. C'était peut-être la première semaine où ça commençait à chauffer, donc les prix n'étaient pas encore à ce niveau.
In the face of inflation, financial trade-offs are becoming increasingly important for many households, and the budget allocated to vacations is shrinking. On average, the French plan to spend €1,530 on their summer vacations, which is about €150 less than in 2025.
Plus de 50% des Français envisagent de dépenser moins que l'an dernier sur les différents sujets, évidemment l'hébergement, la restauration, l'ensemble des dépenses sur place. Et d'ailleurs, c'est très sensible sur les dépenses faites sur place, peut-être plus que sur l'hébergement. 60% des gens pensent qu'ils vont réduire ces dépenses.
Access to vacations remains heavily influenced by social inequalities. 84% of affluent households plan to go on vacation, compared to only 58% of lower-income households.
Snow cover in Greece's mountains, a vital source of water for communities' agriculture and natural ecosystems during the dry summer months, has declined by more than half over the past 4 decades. This is revealed by a new study by Konstantis Alexopoulos and Ian Willis of the Scott Polar Research Institute at the University of Cambridge. An international team of university researchers used a combination of satellite imagery, climate data, terrain maps, and artificial intelligence to analyze how rising temperatures in the Mediterranean have affected snow cover in Greek mountains. Using a tool called Snow Mapper, the researchers found that snow cover was decreased by 58% over the last 40 years, with the rate of decline accelerating since the beginning of the 21st century. Researchers use satellite images from NASA and ESA missions, but because clouds and shadows often obstruct clear observation, the team employed an artificial intelligence technique, machine learning, to fill in the main gaps. This led to the creation of a tool that provides daily snow cover maps at a 100-meter resolution for 10 of Greece's highest mountain ranges, covering the period from 1984 to 2025. Results showed that Greece is losing its winter snow cover faster than most other mountain ranges, which could have serious consequences for communities, agriculture, and the natural environment. The loss of snow cover from the world's mountains is another important indicator of how climate change continues to put pressure on the natural environment, particularly in countries like Greece. The research team also included scientists from the British Antarctic Survey, the National Observatory of Athens, and the Hellenic Mountain Observatory.
In a classified location in the Mediterranean Sea, off the coast of Ramatuelle, French authorities made a miraculous discovery. At a depth of 2,500 meters lies Camara 4, the deepest shipwreck ever discovered in French waters. It's a 16th century vessel, which was located in 2025 during a seabed survey operation conducted by the military. It was an exceptional discovery for Operation Calliope 26, a mission conducted jointly by Cefismer, a unit of the French Navy, and the Department of Underwater and Submarine Archaeological Research of the Ministry of Culture.
L'objectif pour nous, c'est bien que cette position reste secrète, parce qu'aujourd'hui, il y aura plusieurs missions qui sont amenées à être refaites pour évaluer sur un long terme, sur un temps long, en fait, le vestige, comprendre pourquoi elle a coulé ici, ses caractéristiques, et faire aussi du prélèvement de mobilier, pour avoir des informations complémentaires suite à cette découverte.
The tugboat used for this operation is equipped with a remotely operated underwater vehicle capable of descending up to 4,000 meters. The vehicle also had several cameras and articulated arms to retrieve items.
Donc on va prendre toute une série de clichés qui se superposent les uns aux autres et qui vont être remontés grâce à un traitement photogrammétrique, ce qui va nous permettre de générer une ortho-image, donc un plan complet de l'épave, et aussi un modèle 3D sur lequel on va pouvoir faire des mesures et aller prendre le calibre des barres de fer, aller prendre la longueur de l'ancre, la dimension des canons. Tout ça, ce sont des éléments de base qui vont nous servir à collecter toute la documentation de l'épave.
Hundreds of pictures and richly decorated plates were discovered, some of which were collected for analysis once back on land. At the agency's laboratory in Marseille, the ceramics were gently cleaned by professionals.
Là, l'objet qu'on tient entre les mains, effectivement, c'est l'un des objets les plus profonds pris sur les épaves aujourd'hui en France.
A temporary exhibition is planned at the Musée de la Marine in Toulon next November to showcase the mission's findings to the general public. The wreck, meanwhile, will remain on the seabed to comply with the conservation guidelines recommended by UNESCO.
A humpback whale that has been stranded in shallow Baltic Sea waters in Germany for nearly 2 months has finally begun its journey towards the North Sea. The whale, affectionately known as Timmy, is being carried along by a tugboat. It is hoped that he will find his way home in the Atlantic Ocean after roughly 3 days. The German Environment Minister for the region said the humpback was doing well.
Ist mittlerweile in dänischen Gewässern angekommen. Liegt ruhig. Hat angeblich heute Nacht auch vokalisiert. Das heißt, es geht ihm gut.
Repeated attempts to rescue the whale ended in failure as his health deteriorated. Some activists called for him to be left to die in peace. Officials gave up at the start of April until authorities were persuaded by entrepreneurs who came up with a rescue plan and funds. Some scientists have, however, expressed skepticism over whether the whale will survive the journey. But the veterinarians of the private initiative evaluated that the animal was fit for transport. The location of the tugboat carrying Timmy can be tracked online on vesselfinder.com.